Welcome to another Always College Football YouTube exclusive. We've had some fun with these last couple weeks. They're always polarizing. You guys are right. We are wrong. Don't worry. We agree with you, okay? Because these are simply snapshots of where we're at right now in the off season. When we rank these players, when we rank these teams, they're not set in stone. We are willing to, and in all likelihood, we will adjust here in the coming weeks. But this week is going to be particularly fun, at least for me. I love this position. I love to judge it. I love to be able to watch it. And I've spent way too much time watching tape putting this list together, but I digress. It's been a lot of fun. It's well worth it. I also want you to know ahead of time, if you have not played meaningful snaps, you are not on the list. And with all due respect to some of the bowl performances, Miller Moss is not on the list. Neither is Nico Iamaleava, okay? Not on the list for Tennessee. Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma, not currently on the list. We are putting together a list of the top 10 quarterbacks returning in college football. A couple of guys that narrowly missed. All right, Garrett Green at West Virginia. Really like his game. Thought he progressed nicely last year, just missed. Brady Cook at Missouri, just missed the list. Partly, I think, because of upside, perhaps, but I really like Brady Cook, too. So it was hard for me not to find a place for him. I really like Will Howard at Ohio State. And then Riley Leonard, when he's healthy, he would definitely be on the list. But however, last year a little bit banged up, so he narrowly misses as well. So no Ohio State quarterback, no Notre Dame quarterback. It's been a while since we put a list together like this that hasn't included one from each of those two places. We will start at number 10. It's Jalen Daniels from Kansas. Now, just talked a little bit about the injury with Riley Leonard, but I look at what Jalen Daniels has been when he is healthy. In his last 14 games that he has completed, he's thrown for 3,300 yards, 29 touchdowns against just 8 interceptions, while rushing for another 700 yards by himself. Now, he's an incredible athlete, but it looked like last year, before the back injury that sidelined the remainder of the season, looked like he had made strides as far as some of his intermediate and short-range accuracy. So I am buying low right now on Jalen Daniels, believing that he's going to have a huge 2024 campaign. That's why a lot of people think Kansas is a legitimate dark horse there in the Big 12. At number 9, Jackson Dart of Ole Miss. Now, expectations for Ole Miss are through the roof, and understandably so. And it's hard to play quarterback by yourself. So let's just take it with a grain of salt. Some of the guys on this list have a great supporting cast. Jackson Dart has a great supporting cast. An elite supporting cast in some cases. Now, he will be without Quinshon Judkins this year, but what he's shown with his legs, what he's shown with his arm, the guy just capped off the first 11-win season in school history with a really impressive performance against a good defense in Penn State in the Peach Bowl. Like I just told you, we don't care that much about bowl games, but the Peach Bowl was against a pretty good team. So it is worth noting that 380 and 3 touchdowns is pretty dang sporty. I think Jackson Dart's poised for a really nice season this year. He's now played a ton of football in that system, and I would expect him to save his best for last here in what should be his final year. Let's go to number 8, Noah Fifita for Arizona. Doesn't necessarily look the part, only 5'11", 175. And if you look at what his offer sheet looked like coming out of high school, there weren't a lot of people that looked at him and said, yeah, we want you to come be our starting quarterback. But man, he has become a really, really solid player. And granted, it's a very short time frame in which he has been the starting quarterback. It's only been 9 or so games or whatnot. But if you look at how he played after being inserted into the lineup for Jaden DeLaura, he nearly led upsets of both Washington, where they were right there. They lost 31-24. He almost upset SC at the time. That would have been a massive upset. I believe it was on a Friday night, maybe a Saturday night. I can't remember, but I remember watching the game. From mid-October on, he did not lose again. So Noah Fifita, imagine this year when he's getting starter reps all throughout the offseason, just how much better he's going to be in year number 2 as a starter. Let's go to number 7. It's Cam Ward of Miami. Now, probably one of the biggest names to transfer this past season. I look at Cam Ward at Washington State, and oftentimes he was forced to play outside the system, scramble, maneuver, make plays, run around, look for guys uncovering, find a guy open downfield. And yeah, he made a lot of plays. I mean, really, really solid. Now, though, I look at what he's going to be stepping into at Miami. He's got a really capable run game that he's going to lean on. That's going to take some of the pressure off him. I think he has a really capable system led by Shannon Dawson, the offensive coordinator. That system's really good and very quarterback friendly. He's not going to have to do as much as he did at Washington State as he did at Miami. He's going to be able to hand the ball off. He's going to be able to just take underneath plays and watch his underneath wide receivers and weapons take it the distance. Like, he has an excellent supporting cast with him there in Coral Gables. So I think when you look at Cam Ward, him at number 7, I think we're almost buying a little low here. I would not be surprised at all if Miami has a special season and he elevates way on up the list. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever. At number 6, another guy that was the product of injury last year, I'm putting Cam Rising. Cam Rising was pretty dang remarkable in the 2 years that he was the starting quarterback for Utah en route to multiple Pac-12 title games. All right. Multiple Pac-12 title games. They were 9-1 and won the Pac-12 title game back before they played Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. He got banged up in that game, I might add. Then they were 10-3, another Pac-12 title, lost to Penn State, and he was lost for the season, the next 2 seasons basically, with a knee injury in that game. So far in his career, he's 18-6 as a starter with 46 touchdown passes and 13 interceptions. His QBR is north of 83. Pretty dang good. But I think what's most impressive is what happened last year in Cam Rising's absence. In 2022, they scored 39 points per game. Last year, they scored just 23 points per game. They declined 85 passing yards per game, and their passing touchdown total without him in the lineup was cut in half. So you don't know what you got till it's gone. Well, that's what we learned last year with Cam Rising. He comes in at number 6. At number 5, Jalen Milroe for Alabama. Now, he was benched after the week 2 loss to Texas. And then I think a lot of us were wondering, all right, at what point will he get back? Will he be reinserted in the lineup? Because the guys that played in his absence there in week 3 weren't great. Well, he did. And while October, there were a couple growing pains, there were some really bright moments and some moments that were a little bit up and down. In November, he really took off, starting with the LSU game. He started to play more confidently, started to play more decisively, wasn't so big play reliant, which was huge for him in his growth and development. But I believe the sky is the limit with his skill set. Incredible athlete with the ball in his hands. Now it's about continuing to improve on the underneath accuracy, on the intermediate accuracy. He was decent in those areas last year, but there is room for growth because he's always been able to throw the deep ball. He's always been able to take the distance when he has the football in his hands. So Jalen Milroe comes in for the Crimson Tide at number 5. Number 4, Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. Now, him transferring from Oklahoma to Oregon was one of the biggest surprises in the sport, especially considering what he did at Oklahoma last year. They went 10-2. The guy threw for 3,600 yards, had 30 touchdowns, had a massive upset against the Texas Longhorns there in the Red River rivalry. He obviously has had a ridiculous amount of success at the college level, dating back to his time at UCF, his couple years there in Norman, and now he replaces Bo Nix. And Bo Nix last year, I think, kind of showcased the blueprint of how you should play the quarterback position in that offense. The problem is Dylan Gabriel's skill set and what he's done traditionally in college football is very different from what Bo Nix did last year. Bo Nix last year kind of dink and dunk, short, high percentage completions, catch and run situations. Dylan Gabriel's been a guy that wants to push the ball down the field, create vertical shots, make big plays. So I'll be curious to see just how this offense kind of blends. But Dylan Gabriel, can't ignore the production. By season's end, he'd have to have a career year, but he could become the all-time leading passer in the history of college football if he could throw for like 4,700 yards. That would break the record held currently by Case Keenum. Let's go to number 3. It's Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Now, Colorado, a lot of people are going to have a polarizing opinion of what Shedeur Sanders is. Yes, he takes a lot of sacks. Yes, a lot of those sacks are not his fault. But you cannot deny the accuracy. You can't deny the accuracy. Okay, well, 52 sacks. That's what people continue. Well, he takes too many sacks. He was pressured on nearly 40% of his dropbacks. That's an absurd stat. An absolutely absurd stat. He finished 9th nationally in completion percentage at 69%. He was 10th in passing yards, and he was 4th in interception percentage. Okay, pretty impressive when you take all of that into account. And he did so down the stretch with a little bit of an injury as well with his back. So looking at Shedeur Sanders' growth, he's super accurate. And when he isn't pressured, he will carve you up. I was so impressed with his transition from the FCS to the FBS last year. And I believe now with the full offseason working with Pat Shurmur, his offensive coordinator, he was on staff last year, but Pat Shurmur has been around the game for a long time, universally respected as a quarterback coach. I think Pat Shurmur, his hands-on approach to making sure Shedeur Sanders continues to develop, he's got the best football in front of him. So I think Shedeur Sanders locks down the number 3 spot for the Colorado Buffaloes. At number 2, I have Quinn Ewers. The University of Texas completely transformed his body in the offseason, got the haircut. Everyone wants to talk about those things. That's great. But what I noticed last year was just how much more decisive he was. And if you look at Quinn Ewers too, there were often times in 2022, there were a lot of wasted plays. I mean, it's like, all right, he's not open to throw it. You just get rid of it. And just, there are a lot of wasted plays. Like, oh, all right, I'll play 2nd and 10. Last year, he didn't waste anything. When things were open downfield, he anticipated and he hit him in stride. When things were open underneath, he hit him. He didn't wait for the big play to come open downfield. Just took what he had, and they just continued to move the chains. He looked so much more comfortable last year. And because of the lost weight, I thought he was more athletic. Thought he played the game much more athletic. His feet were better. And all those things helped him to really progress and lead Texas to their first ever college football playoff berth. So I look at Quinn Ewers. He is the number 2 quarterback in the sport coming into the season. And then finally, at number 1, shouldn't come as a huge surprise, the Carson Beck of the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, finally took over. He waited his turn. And let this be an example for all the young quarterbacks out there that aren't starting as a freshman or a sophomore. It's okay to wait. Carson Beck waited 4 years before he became the starting quarterback at Georgia. And he led Georgia to an unbeaten regular season, nearly took him back to the college football playoff. In his first year as a starter, completed 72% of his passes for nearly 4,000 yards. I didn't have a crazy, ridiculous production when it comes to touchdowns, just 24 touchdowns, but they didn't really let him go in the first 4 or 5 games of the year. It wasn't until the Kentucky game where they really took the reins off and said, all right, Carson, go be the man. And he was down the stretch and got better and better and better as the season went along. And now, with an entire offseason, having studied what he did last year, I think you can expect more improved Carson Beck coming up here in 2024. So that's our list. At number 1, Carson Beck locks it down as the best quarterback in the sport. Hey guys, it's Greg McElroy. Thanks for watching Always College Football. Make sure you like, rate, and subscribe to ESPN's YouTube channel and wherever you listen to your podcasts.